Hello and welcome to Lockhart Live, our live hangout with Lockhart, as the title suggests. Today we are here at Key headquarters, and Emily has been on tour throughout the UK, and this is sort of the final stop of the tour. Today we're going to have a chance to ask her some questions. If you're watching, you can join us as well by asking questions using hashtag #eLockhartLive. We'll also be giving away some prizes today. We've got a lot of great stuff. We have the We Were Liars audiobook from Audible. We'll be giving away 4 of those. We also have a signed copy of The Descriptive History of Frankie Landau Banks, and we also have iTunes vouchers for How to Be Bad. There's quite a lot of stuff to give away, and all you need to do to enter is just tweet or comment using hashtag #eLockhartLive. And this is for people from the UK and Ireland only. Another important thing to say is that today's hangout will be completely spoiler-free. So if you haven't read We Were Liars yet, don't worry about it. We will keep our mouths shut about some very specific things. So we're going to be doing a couple of different things today. We will be having a book chat about We Were Liars. We'll be doing a Bookish Would You Rather game. And we're also playing 2 Truths, 1 Lie to stick to the theme of We Were Liars. So first of all, I'd like to introduce our YouTuber guests. We have Megan, Rosianna, and Hannah. So Megan, if you would mind introducing yourself.
Yeah, I'm Megan Olivier, and my channel is also Megan Olivier, and I make videos mostly about books. Sometimes I talk about writing and other random stuff that I like, but it's mostly a booktube channel.
Hi, my name is Rosianna. My YouTube channel is youtube.com/Rosianna. My channel is all about kind of growing up and the different things I experienced in my different phases of the many years since I've had a YouTube channel. But I talk a lot about books. I do a lot of book reviews, film reviews, etc.
I'm Hannah Witton, and my YouTube channel is also Hannah Witton, and I kind of make videos about all sorts of like lifestyle things, some feminist stuff and sex ed, and I've started making videos about books too.
Okay, thank you very much. And then, of course, we also have Emily Lockhart here. Oh, I am Sanne, or Booksandquills on YouTube. I am a YouTuber, but I also work for Hotkey, so this is like being home on a Saturday. Just wondering if you could introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your books.
I'm Lockhart, and I am the author of We Were Liars and The Disreputable History of Frankie Landau Banks, among other books for young adults. These are the books. We Were Liars is the story of a girl who is the heiress in a large and very wealthy family that owns a private island off the coast of Massachusetts. At the start of the story, she has amnesia about some mysterious events that happened on the island because she hit her head and has a very bad chronic migraine problem and a lot of heavy medication to combat the migraines. And so her experience of her life for the past couple of years has been very fuzzy and confused, and she needs to unpack the mystery of what happened leading up to her accident. Plus there's kissing. And then Disreputable History of Frankie Landau Banks is about a girl who finds out that her boyfriend is a member of an all-male secret society at their elite boarding school in New England, and she decides that rather than complain about this, she is going to take over the society by stealth, force the boys in the society to execute a series of ornate campus pranks that will undermine their very dominance at the school, and then eventually she will take them down. So that's what those books are, and I'm psyched to be here.
And so you've been on tour for the last week. How has it been? You've seen a lot of the UK.
I've seen the inside of a lot of schools, and I've seen the inside of a lot of bookstores, and they were both awesome in their different ways. The big shock to me really is that the students of Great Britain are in uniform. This I am not used to. And I thought, oh, the first school, this must be a Catholic school, but no, it wasn't. And so my idea of what is going on in British high schools has sort of had a makeover. And so anyway, that was my culture shock thing, besides, Marmite and so forth. And the bookshops have been amazing. it's a really good way to tour a country, is to talk to the students and the booksellers. So
It's been really fun following all the pictures and tweets, and it seems like everyone's been having
we've been
really
stamping
good time.
everybody's hands with mottos. The characters in We Were Liars write mottos on their hands, trying out different, kind of ways, words for a living. And so I've been writing a different thing on my hands every day, and I've washed, so I don't have anything on my hands today. But I wrote, think for yourself and be kind. I write short ones on my hands because I have to do it left-handed. But the mottos that Hotkey made for me to stamp on people's hands are two mottos from the novel. One is the motto of bravery, always do what you're afraid to do. And the other is the motto of kindness, which is be a little kinder than you have to. And so people could get those stamped, and they tweeted and Instagrammed a lot of pictures of their hand mottos.
Every time I go to an event, I'm very excited to get those stamps, and it also takes about 3 days to wash them off to get to carry them
You're
around
not
for a
washing
while.
hard enough.
So throughout the show, we'll be taking questions on the hashtag #eLockhartLive. If you see me on my phone, don't worry, I'm not tweeting, I'm just looking at the hashtag. And we've taken some from before the show as well. So the first question that I have from someone on Twitter is from KarenLife00. And she asked, did you start writing the book, which is about We Were Liars in this case, knowing what the end would be, or did you find out while writing?
I knew what the end would be. I had for a very long time this idea to write a book about a private island and just a couple houses on the island, and the very intense family conflict that might generate in that situation around inheritance and property and all that kind of family stuff. I think that's a real universal. Basically, these people are very privileged, this family, but the universal is that parents fight. Grandparents and parents fight, parents fight with their siblings, and it's a very difficult thing when you're a young person to have the adults in your family fighting. And it's, some families it happens every day, some families it happens once a year at Christmas. So, but we've all experienced that, and I want to write about that kind of the frustration and anger that you would feel in that young generation, and you can heighten it by putting everybody on an island where they can't really get off very easily. So that kind of family drama was interesting to me. But it took me a much longer time to find out, what was going to be more exciting than that, because that's interesting, but not exciting enough for a book. And so I was thinking about that scenario and all that, and then I came up with the ending, and that I didn't start writing until I knew what the ending was.
Thank you very much. We've also prepared questions ourselves, and so I was going to ask Rosianna to ask her question.
We're taking the first one.
Yeah.
Okay, so in We Were Liars, it seems to me like all the characters kind of have a different approach to how they demarcate time. So, for example, the grandfather has it in terms of stories being told back to him, and he kind of measures history and time through what people remember of the important family history. And meanwhile, Katie is very much like summer 15, summer 14. She marks them out in terms of her summers and like her own experience. Did you think about these approaches directly, or did they just come out of writing?
That's a good question. I now have to think. I think it just came out of writing.
Yeah.
I mean, you know how there are those family anecdotes that certain people love to tell? And you're like, Grandpa, I heard this one. I know what happened. He's like, I'm telling it anyway.
Yeah.
And I can be that person in my family. I mean, the grandfather in We Were Liars is not a very lovable person, but you always have to put something of yourself into a character to make it believable. And that's the part of him that is, I'm like, I'm going to tell you this story. Yeah. Back when I was a kid, this we did, do you remember the year that we did that? And my kids are like, I started with that element of his personality because I could relate to it.
Right.
And the year 15 and year 17, the events of the novel happen in two different summers. The summer that this group of kids who are called the Liars were 15 years old, and then the summer that they're 17 years old. And so that phraseology just came out of it being muddled in an early draft and needing to be, have a little bit of, instead of the summer that we were, to just have like a little phrase that could kind of be a touchstone so that you would know where you were.
Right.
It's like in Sliding Doors, that movie where she's blonde and brunette. And
you can just figure it all out. Yeah.
I needed something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're going to play a little game called Bookish, Would You Rather?
I'm a little scared of this game. I've been seeing it on Twitter, and yeah.
Yes, we've been asking everyone to
I'm
send us some
nervous.
dilemmas, some
Okay.
really difficult questions, one or two, like what would you choose, this or this, related to books. So Megan, if you wouldn't mind handing me the bowl of questions.
Okay, the bowl of questions.
Bowl of
So what am
questions.
are we all, I'm
So
answering
we're
them?
all
Is
going
that
to
what's
take
happening?
one.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you to do one first, Megan. If you can just
Okay.
grab one from the bowl.
Do we all answer it or just?
Do we all answer
Just-
Megan's question? or
No,
only
Megan
Megan?
just answers her own question, then you'll get a question
Oh, okay.
from the bowl
Okay.
yourself.
Can we discuss it, or are we not?
Yes,
we're
of
supposed to
course.
behave?
Okay. Would you rather be a dragon or have a dragon? I think I'd probably rather be a dragon, because then if I had a dragon, everything would be on fire. Everything would be at risk all the time. I don't know. Never thought about being a dragon before.
How about being afraid of being caught? Because if you're the only dragon in the world,
That's true.
that might be an issue.
But what if there were lots of dragons?
Exactly.
Dragon would be awesome.
Could ride the dragon.
Is it a
Yeah.
flying or not flying?
I'm assuming
yeah.
flying,
You know.
I think. I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so, yeah.
Dragon with
otherwise-
wings.
There's no point being or having a dragon that doesn't fly. Like,
Exactly.
but
Are there any
genetically,
dragons that can't fly? Like
Yes.
they can all fly, right?
No,
no, there are some that can't fly.
it's a fact.
In what universe?
Our personal history.
I'm going to ask you to hold
Those
the
are just
bowl
called
for me.
dinosaurs.
Yeah.
While I grab one, I'm very scared of dropping this bowl.
Oh, this feels like the
Okay.
reaping.
Welcome.
Would you rather never read again,
Oh god.
very sad, or never be allowed to finish the books you read?
No.
This one is by @weaving_pages on Twitter.
The pain.
Well, obviously, I'd have to choose never be allowed to finish the books you read. I do that quite a lot anyway.
Yeah.
I read a lot of books at the same time.
I
I'm
do
usually
too.
reading about 10, and I still enjoy that as well. So I think I'd have to go with that, because never reading again would be horrible.
Well, could you get
obviously.
people to tell you the ending? I feel like there's a work
Maybe
on
look
it.
up some spoilers online.
Yeah, you go on
That
Wikipedia
works.
and find out what happened.
Yeah.
Right? Just read
Yeah.
to the almost, almost.
Do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Here
All
comes
right,
the ball.
am I next? Would you rather have more books in a series that ended, or get memory wiped and read a series again for the first time?
Wait, what was the first one?
Would you rather have more books in a series that ended, such as Harry Potter,
Right.
8, 9, 10, or get memory wiped and read it again, or a series, whatever series you like, for the first time? I'm very afraid of being memory wiped. It's like a kind of a,
That didn't
Yeah.
come through at all in We Were Light. Anxiety.
Yeah, that's not an issue for me.
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of books that I've read lately that have that
Yeah.
some kind of, I just reread White Cat
Oh,
by Holly
right,
Black.
yeah.
And, well, I don't want to be spoilerish about that, but there is secret memory wiping
Yeah.
that happens in there. And there's something very nefarious about it. And
It's out of your control. Someone else is controlling your life in a way.
yeah, but also what happens in that book to the guy who's doing it.
Mm.
And it messes with his own memory. He has to put post-its, like in Memento, you have to put post-it notes everywhere saying what his name is and what his whole, anyway.
Oh, that's kind of like Memento.
It is, right,
Yeah.
exactly.
He like
Exactly.
tattoos himself.
Yeah, that idea that you've
Wow.
lost track of
Yeah,
your
yeah,
own.
yeah.
So much as it would be fun to discover Harry Potter or some such over again, or White Cat, I would rather more
Have
books.
more books.
I would also be afraid that if my memory got wiped, that then I would lose everything that's happened in my life because of that
Yeah.
book, like everything you've learned because
Yeah.
of it and the way that it's changed your
Because-
life.
Wiping Harry Potter would mean that we would have never really met. Yeah. It would be very sad. It would be very sad. Thank you. Okay. Would you rather save a fictional character's life or kill off a fictional character you don't like? I'd probably save a fictional character's life,
Fred Weasley.
even that. Yeah, probably.
Or
Because
one
I wouldn't want to even. I mean, that phrase of killing off is so much more than even what an author does. It's it feels like it would be a chosen act of violence, even though it would happen in a fictional realm. But then at the same time, death is so instrumental in all the stories that we
Stop getting deep.
listen to. I don't know. It's a very deep question. Probably save a fictional character's life. Yeah.
Even somebody evil. That's the question.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes. Everyone can be redeemed, except for Voldemort.
But he
Okay.
died anyway.
Yeah,
so
he's
you
all
don't
right.
really-
Yeah.
Would you rather have your book returned to you from a friend with dogged pages? What does that mean?
Dog-eared.
When
Like when you fold it.
Fold them over.
Oh.
I don't care about that. Or a cracked spine. Oh, the pages. Yeah, cracked spines. No, but then it's like you can read it easier. I don't care. I actually don't care about battered books. I really don't.
I don't care if people don't return books to me. I assume that the book is going off to
Well,
a
the
new
book is
life.
being returned in both
No
scenarios.
one is giving it back to me usually.
So,
they just take them.
I get my book back. Either. Let's go cracked spine. Yeah.
All right.
How about the rest of you? How do you feel about that? Cracked spine, dog-eared?
I'm fine with either. Probably would prefer dog-eared, so I can crack it myself.
Yeah.
How about you, Megan?
Yeah, I think I'd probably prefer dog-eared, but I don't really mind. I like my books to be like well loved. It looks like someone's actually
Sanne
read it.
hates this.
Oh,
Oh, so both of these are
A cracked
upsetting to you.
spine hurts me personally.
I love it when it's I signing a copy of We Were Liars or whatever book and it's got little sticky notes all over it or like many pages folded down because you think this person is like, you know, marking bits of it.
I actually
Pen
really
marks.
enjoy it if I've dropped a book in a bath and then I dry it and it's like just extra fat and it's wavy and it's all dried and crinkled. I love it.
I was doing the thing with the paperback where you put it on its spine and then you fold it open before you read it carefully, page by page, and that way your the spine will never crack.
You're like the Martha Stewart show. Here's a handy tip for those of you who would like to take an extra 45 minutes with everything.
Okay, we're gonna put the bowl back in.
Oh yeah, we're not.
Place.
We're not doing our.
There we go. We'll do another round of that later on.
I liked it. It wasn't as scary as I thought.
And the bowl's still in one piece. This is all very good. Okay, I'm going to take another question from Twitter. And this time it's someone called, this is always hard to pronounce, Malin Forcer, I'm going to go with. And she says, from We Were Liars as well, was Cadence's character based on anyone in particular?
Her character is not, but there is a friend of mine who I love very much who suffers from chronic migraine pain. And this friend of mine is often taken out of her everyday life because of how much pain she's in, meaning she's in bed for a couple of days. She also has to take very heavy medication, which debilitates her at some points. And I don't really know if she does, but I at least imagine that she compensates for being in pain. And sometimes I think people compensate by being aggressive, but they also might compensate by being super charming and super accommodating, and just it's a complete facade, or it's who they want to be, but then underneath that they feel that they are not really that person because there's this pain that's underlying the whole thing. And so I was really interested in the way that chronic pain like that would affect somebody's personality, especially a young person. And I got the idea from my friend.
Okay, are there any other characters that you've sort of based on people that you know, even if you've taken little parts, sort of?
No, but yes.
Are they a secret?
No, in We Were Liars, there are these cousins who spend summer after summer on this private island. And there's an outsider, this boy named Gat Patil, who becomes one of their group. They're all the same age, and they're summering together. And he's come to the island through various family connections. Gat is American with Indian heritage, and the rest of them are white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, very ruling class type of family. And so he is kind of the character who has 1 foot in and 1 foot out of this world. So he is beloved by the teenagers. He is viewed with some suspicion and slight, unspoken but definite racism by the older generation. And just that position of being like partway in and partway out of a group is something that I find myself writing about a lot. Sometimes it's a privileged group, sometimes it's not as much, but that idea that you are in that kind of halfway position is true in Disreputable History of Frankie Landau Banks, as well as it is in We Were Liars. So Gat is the character who is most like me, even though physically and background-wise, and I'm not a boy, I am not of Indian descent, I didn't grow up in New York. There's many things about us that are different, but A, I've often been in that kind of position, and B, he's a reader and a talker, and he wants everyone to listen to him. And, you know, hello.
Okay, we're gonna do another game. We're leaving the bowl for now, but you've all been given an envelope with your name on it. You start off, everyone's got it. And so this is called, you can't open it yet.
No.
It's called Bookish, 2 Truths, 1 Lie. You might be familiar with it, you might have seen it on YouTube. So we all have a card in here, and on it there will be 2 truths and 1 lie. So one by one, we'll be reading our card. You have to make it as convincing as possible that they're all true. And
Wait,
then,
I mailed these in like 2 months ago, right? Did I make these up?
No?
No, you made them up.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
the one that I have, obviously, I did not make up because.
I have no.
Yeah,
Wait, can you just explain?
Yeah. So I will do mine
Are these
first.
about ourselves?
No, they are about
No.
books in general.
Oh.
I will do mine first. I will
Okay.
read you 3 statements.
That are
And then
facts.
2
Two
are
facts, one
one's
lie.
a lie.
About, not about you, about other things in the
About the
world.
world in general, generally about books.
Books.
And then I'll make you guys vote on which one is the truth, and which one is the
bad at
lie. Okay. First truth. Key Books published their first book August 2nd, 2012. Okay. Second truth. The 5th book Key Books ever published won the Carnegie Medal. And the third truth. In 2 years, Key Books has printed 44 titles as book proofs. So who thinks that the first one was a lie?
Me.
Okay,
It's the boring one.
who thinks that the second one was a lie?
Me, whatever. Just let's make it
Who
different.
thinks the third one was a lie?
Yeah.
It was the second one. It wasn't the 5th book that Key Book published that was the Carnegie Medal. It was the 3rd one.
What was it?
What do I win? Do I win a prize?
That was Megan Witton. Okay, who wants to go next?
I'll go next. I'm just going to laugh through all of them, so I'm consistent. The burning temperature of a book is 451 degrees centigrade. 2. During filming of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, the cast posed for an underwater photo shoot that they used as a Christmas card. 3. While shooting Hunger Games, Catching Fire, Jennifer Lawrence went deaf in one ear for 2 weeks.
Oh my god.
Okay,
Everyone ready?
I don't understand centigrade. I remember
400 centigrade is like a lot more Fahrenheit.
super hot.
Yeah, really, really hot. Like a few hundred.
Well, I don't think that's true then.
Okay, shall we go? So the first one, anyone think the first one is a lie? The burning temperature of a book is 451 degrees centigrade.
Yeah, I think it's got to be lower than that.
But there's Fahrenheit 451. Maybe that's why they picked that number. But that's centigrade.
Yeah.
That makes no sense. No, never mind. Not that.
Like that's so hot.
Who thinks it's 2? During filming of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, the cast posed for an underwater photo shoot that they used as a Christmas card. 3. While shooting Hunger Games, Catching Fire, Jennifer Lawrence went deaf in one ear for 2 weeks. So you all voted for 1.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is in fact the lie. It's 451 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the book, Fahrenheit 451.
But why is
Wait,
it?
why does it we
why
voted
does
that's
it-
a lie, so that's good, right?
Oh, right, yeah, you won 1.
But it was
We all
just
got it
it was
right.
a Fahrenheit centigrade.
It was a
thing.
Fahrenheit, yeah.
Okay.
It was being
I've
tricksy.
definitely seen the Harry Potter Christmas card.
I have the Harry Potter Christmas card.
You did.
Yeah.
They sent you a
I've
Christmas
never
card.
Because they used to write letters to Daniel Radcliffe.
And then he sent you a
And
Christmas
then I
card.
got a Christmas card, yeah.
Oh
So
my
sweet.
God.
I still have it somewhere.
Oh, of course you would.
Oh, I had like a signed photo of Daniel Radcliffe from like
Oh, I
film
have
1 or 2.
several of those as well. I mentioned.
It says like, "Dear Hannah, like believe in magic."
Oh,
Daniel Radcliffe.
that's so sweet.
Yeah.
Do you want to do yours?
Oh yeah, I'll do mine. Right. Okay. Oh god, these are long. Okay. Before writing The Wizard of Oz, L. Frank Baum published the Book of Hamburgs, a brief treatise upon the, I can't read, rearing and management of the different varieties of Hamburgs, a book about chickens. That's factual fun.
Okay.
Okay. Fact 2. Roald Dahl wrote the screenplays for the films Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and You Only Live Twice, a Bond film. And fact 3. Courtney Love was Tim Burton's first choice for Alice in his Alice in Wonderland film.
I say number 3 is a lie.
Okay, oh yeah, so who thinks number 1 is the lie? The thing about the Wizard of Oz thing and the...
I feel like that's too complicated to
He's
not be
all
true.
kinds of random stuff. He was constantly writing a million things that were not the Wizard of Oz.
Okay, so who thinks that the Roald Dahl screenplay thing was a lie?
Yeah, I'm gonna go for that one.
Okay, and then Tim Burton.
Lie.
You guys are right. It was a lie. It was apparently her daughter, Frances Cobain, who was his first choice.
Oh.
I didn't know.
I didn't know
either.
Frances Bean.
Huh?
Frances Bean.
Yeah, Frances Bean Cobain.
Yeah.
Don't know who that is. Well, obviously, Courtney Love
That's
and
'cause
Kurt
I'm
Cobain's
old.
child.
Frances Bean was a big deal back when she was born.
Hey, do yours,
people-
Emily?
Oh, yeah. Okay. The original title for Where the Wild Things Are was Where the Wild Horses Are. Number 2, I know that.
I have to be careful not to look, because otherwise it's
All
going
right. C.S. Lewis based one of his characters on fellow author J.R.R. Tolkien. And Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen was originally called Pomp and Poverty.
I love it.
Oh, dear.
Number 3 is a lie.
Well, you're very convinced. I'm gonna go with that.
I'm going to go different. I think 1 is a lie.
Oh.
I don't remember what 1 was, but I think it was a lie. Because I
It
laughed
was
at
about the
it.
Sendak,
Yeah.
the wild horses.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
lie.
No, it's true.
Oh.
It's totally true.
Totally true.
He switched them to monsters later.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
He started out with horses. I know.
So which?
So the lie was, you guys were correct. It was originally called First Impressions.
Oh, I knew that.
So it
Oh,
did
I
have
remember that,
the original
yeah.
title. Yeah, but the only one I actually didn't know before was about the Tolkien.
Yeah, because they were friends.
Yeah,
No,
they're
buddies.
buddies.
But
I
who
went
was
to
the
the pub
character?
where they used to hang out
I don't know.
together.
The
Oh,
character
really?
was the
Don't
old, wasn't it the old magician at the beginning?
Oh,
I think that was from
Oh, in
From
The Magician's Nephew.
in the magician's nephew. I think that's supposed
Really?
to be Tolkien. Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
that is a nice tidbit.
Or the professor. Like,
If you come away with nothing else from watching
it might
this
have been
video,
one of those
now you have
Yeah.
fun facts about.
I've got
Narnia.
more fun facts about Tolkien because he was from Birmingham and I went to uni in Birmingham and we have a clock tower in our university and that is what the Tower of Isengard is like based off.
Good.
So that's cool. Like walking past
Good,
it every
nice
day, just
little-
being like Saruman.
By the way, if you want to play along at home, you can use the hashtag #eLockhartLife to tell us what you think is the truth or lie. And if we're asking any questions, you can of course participate as well and still send in your questions because I'll be checking the hashtag. Okay, do you want to do the last one?
Yes. Okay. George Orwell's 1984 was written in 1948. Between 1941 and 1943, Orwell worked on propaganda for the BBC, but was fired for writing The Too Contentious Animal Farm. George Orwell's real name is Eric.
You got the George Orwell one.
Wow.
So who thinks it's the first one?
I do, even though I feel like that's just a fact that I should know one way or the other.
I feel like it might have been published then, but not written then. Is my feeling, maybe.
Okay, what was number
What
2
about
again?
I feel like it has
Second
always
one was a
existed.
long one about
It's kind of hard.
propaganda and the BBC.
Right, he was
When
fired.
was the
Fired,
when
yeah.
did the BBC start? Like
No
the
idea.
40s? Oh wait, it
Long
could.
time.
In the year 100 AD.
And what was the other one? Eric. Isn't
Yes.
it?
I'm gonna go for the Eric one. That's
Okay, I'll go
obviously
for
a
the
lie.
BBC one as a lie then.
He did work there, but he didn't get fired.
I knew the
No, he's
1948
totally
thing
Eric.
was true.
He's told, yeah.
Yeah.
I researched the pseudonyms a lot.
That's like
Yeah.
they're both kind of like boring, average sort of names. So that seems very strange,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Because E. Lockhart is not my actual name. And there are,
It's not.
Oh, I know. Whoa. Also, there are so many fun pseudonyms in young adult fiction.
Or just in fiction in general.
That's true.
My
right,
favorite
generally.
is George Eliot.
George Eliot is
George
okay,
Eliot's a
right.
great one.
It took me very long to figure out. I did not know that until very recently.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though I studied literature.
Okay. It does say George Eliot, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that was a good round. That was quite hard. I actually, the 1984 one, was recently told to me by a flatmate, and she was just like, I can't believe you didn't know that. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
But now I know that everyone knows that. That's great.
I knew that. I was proud of myself. That was the only fact out of all of them that I was like, that was definitely true. Like, I knew that.
Okay, we've got another Twitter question.
Okay.
This time from Amanda Sudo. I like it when people don't have numbers or weird signs in their Twitter name. So this is about Frankie, and I know this is a tough question to ask a writer because usually there isn't an answer or you don't want to give the answer, but just in case. What do you think happened to Frankie after the story ends?
Oh, I don't have a good answer for that. The character is a very strong-willed kind of girl who, like I said, sets out to take over this secret society and by stealth. And so it says at the beginning of the book that she will become either, the head of a multinational corporation or a director of action movies or a criminal mastermind of some kind. And I wanted to, make it clear that she would in some way become a very powerful person, but that it might not always be a happy story.
I think that's a good answer to that. Hannah, you have a question as well.
I do. When you were growing up, what authors kind of like inspired you or influenced you?
I'm a big fan of the writers who have a very strong voice. So I loved Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams, for example, and The Color Purple by Alice Walker. And you might not think, for example, that those two writers were connected, but for me, it was like hearing somebody talk to me and tell me a story in a very, nobody else but those writers could have written that book. It's not about the events that happen; it's about the way it sounds and the pace of it and the slang and everything. So I think those kinds of writers are the most, in disreputable history, I refer a lot to P.G. Wodehouse. And my books are not like P.G. Wodehouse, but he's, one of the greatest prose stylists ever to write in English language. And I, fell in love with those in college and just thought like, it was like living in a cotton candy sparkle bubble, and was, so joyful to read that prose.
I've never read any P.G. Wodehouse, but I want to after reading Frankie. I find that quite happens a lot, and I know you guys have that as well. You read about a character in a book talking about their favorite book, and then you go, oh, well, I like this book, and I like this character, and the author probably liked the book they put in this book. Yeah. So maybe that should be the next one on the reading list. You should start. Well, he wrote like 89 books, so you should start with. Oh gosh. I'm going to give you some advice. The Code of the Woosters is what you should start with. That's the first one. Yeah. No. It's not the first one, but it's the first one to start with.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, now we're going to go into a discussion about We Were Liars.
Okay.
So obviously, like I said before, spoiler free, and you can follow along with the discussion using #eLockhartLive. And so I thought the first thing I'd want to ask all of you, I'm just going to show off the book a little bit as well, is what was sort of your experience with this book? Like, how did you pick it up? Where were you reading it? What was your initial response? And let's start with you.
Well, I heard so much about it on BookTube. Everybody was talking about it for a while, so I ordered it like straight away, and I read it practically all in one sitting, I think, because like the chapters are so short and it's just so fast, and like everything's happening so quickly and you just don't want to put it down. And I remember when I finished it, I just felt like a zombie afterwards because it kind of like takes you to a different world. It's like the writing style is just, I don't know. I just felt like I couldn't like live for a while after I'd finished. I couldn't function as a human. Yeah, for like about a few hours afterwards. Yeah.
Thank you.
How about you, Rosie?
Well, so Sanne, who I lived with up until yesterday, came home and said, we've acquired a really exciting book, but I can't tell you what it is. So I was like waiting for the bookseller, like checking it through until one day.
Wait, you lived together?
Yes, we did, yeah. And she was
Everybody know
tell
that,
me then.
Okay,
But she wouldn't tell me what it was, and then I found out it was We Were Liars, and I was like, Sanne, the second the proof's coming, give me proof of the book. And so I got it, and it was still a few months before the release, very luckily. And so I sat in my room and read it all in one go, and I was like, Sanne, we have to talk about the book. But there was also the hotkey set up a hotline that you could call, which was really great.
Seriously?
Yeah, because you want to talk about it.
Phone number was on the back.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
So it was really great because if you didn't really have anyone else in your life that you could talk to about it because they hadn't read it,
I need
you could call the office and chat to someone. It was perfect.
We actually got some people calling in as well. I think she was on a train and so it got disconnected halfway through. But it was great to get that first phone call. It was
Liv
exciting.
said that like 10 or 15 people called in.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great.
Which is not that many, but given that you're, calling a helpline to talk about a book, I was impressed that people actually did it.
Oh yeah, my turn. I don't think I read it in one sitting, but I read it pretty fast, and I got it because you had loads of copies of it at Summer in the City in August, and I just remember kind of reading it and going through it and being like, this is nice, this is pleasant, it's kind of mysterious. I'm waiting for that big thing to hit me, like why it feels so dreamlike and why because I never felt grounded and I couldn't tell where the story was going, but I liked it because I was like, ooh, I don't really know what bits to grab hold of and what to take in. And yeah, then it hits you and shit. Damn it. It was gonna happen.
I think that my reading experience of it was a little bit different because we obviously got it in the office and I was reading it on my phone because whenever we get a manuscript in, I just immediately put it on my phone so I can read it wherever I go. And I'm not that quick of a reader, so everyone's reading it at their desk. And one by one, people go, I finished everything. How about you? And they'll go off in corners and talk about it. And I hadn't finished it yet, so I was literally just starting to read it as quickly as possible until I could finally go
it was
and
so
discuss it with
annoying
other
though,
people.
because you were on the tube and you were like, I was like, what are you reading, Sanne? She was like, I can't tell you. I was like, what are you reading, Sanne? Tell me what you're reading.
And the other thing is, I know that Rosianna always just talked about how much she loves Frankie.
Yeah.
So one day I got home and I was like, do you have a copy of Frankie that I could borrow? No reason in particular. And so I borrowed that and read that as well, still while keeping everything.
And yet I still did not put two and two together. I am not like Frankie. I'm not, don't have that kind of coded mind at all.
Well, me neither.
Yeah.
I have to, layer it in over time.
Yeah.
So I was wondering,
those are nice to hear.
they're all kind of very different but also similar reading experience, I would say. I feel like a lot of people, especially in the beginning, when the book had just come out, everyone was sort of just reading it at the same time and trying to figure out who had already read it so they could discuss it. And I was wondering what kind of responses you've had from readers.
Well, basically, as soon as it came out, I started to get tweets. And the only social media that I'm really on a regular basis is Twitter. And I try to answer as much as I can on Twitter. And I abandon most other social media to a very inconsistent relationship. But all of a sudden, in that first week of publication, I was getting a lot of emails, the content of which it still happens all day, every day, which is, why did you do that? I hate you so much right now. I love you. Please follow me back.
You ruined my life.
Thank you for ruining me. Yes, I'm destroyed. Hug, hug, hug. So a lot. It's this kind of, in 140 characters, it's very endearing to be sort of told off and then embraced at the same time. So it's quite, I love those. And I just take it as a compliment. I just write back, thank you.
Yeah, what I love is I think the conversation hasn't stopped because sometimes a book comes out and everyone's talking about it and then, people kind of start reading another book. But I feel like this has been sort of constant wave of people reading it, discovering, and I felt rereading it as well. That was my thing. I reread it quite recently and then it just completely blew my mind. I really loved it the first time. But reading it a second time, I think it doesn't happen with a lot of books. You reread it and you're like, it's like reading a different book because I missed everything.
Yeah, I still need to
really
reread
enjoyable.
it. The moment I finished it, I was like, I need to reread this. I'll get around to it eventually.
Yeah, and then then the discussion can start again because once you've both people have reread it, then you can have that discussion.
Well, then you feel
again.
like Nancy Drew. And you can
So I'm really curious kind of to hear about, because you said you already knew what the ending was going to be. Kind of the order in which you wrote the book. Do you kind of just go around and write bits and pieces, or are you kind of the kind of writer who likes to plan everything out in advance and then start at the beginning?
No, I don't plan very much out. I just have a general idea of where something is going for most projects. But I wrote We Were Liars in Scrivener, which is a word processing program that more and more of my writer colleagues use. And the first people I heard who were using it were people who were writing, 4-book fantasy series with multiple plot lines and all kinds of world building. And it was a big, and I thought, well, I don't need that program because they're doing a whole thing that I don't need to do. And I stuck with Microsoft Word. But I realized that I very often would write my book in order and then look at it and realize that I had the wrong order of events. So I would end up taking a scene from the middle and moving it to the beginning, and then taking a whole bunch of things in the middle and moving them into different orders. And then I would, write a new ending. And so I thought I was writing in order, but I was not. I was really never writing my stories in order. The order of the finished book was always quite different from the order in which I had attempted to write it. And so with We Were Liars, I kind of acknowledged that as part of my process. And I wrote it in Scrivener. And what Scrivener allows you to do is to see your manuscript almost in imaginary index cards, virtual index cards, or you can see it as one giant list, and everything's in small chunks so that you can literally drag and drop them in a way that you can't in Microsoft
really
Word.
cool.
So you're patchworking these different little, you've broken it down to little bite-sized chunks, and you're putting those chunks, that sounds gross, in order. And so that was really useful for We Were Liars. It always had a 5-act structure, so I knew what those 5 acts were. But for example, it has fairy tale interstitials, which I mean are, these fairy tales that Cadence, the narrator, tells as a way of telling the secrets of her family that she doesn't even know herself, but she just has this urge to tell these fairy tales that reflect a lot of what's going on in the family. So I wrote those all in one go, and then I seeded them in to that narrative where I thought they should go. But I often moved them. I could, I had them labeled, and I could just move them. Say, oh, let's move this one over here and see if it works better there. And likewise, the flashbacks. So there's so many flashbacks in this book, and any book has flashbacks, and you do have to manage your flashbacks because too many flashbacks are really annoying, and you have to pace them and see how long do they have to be, because every time you go out of your main narrative, you're asking something of your reader. And so you can color code your flashbacks and look at them all and say,
That sounds beautiful.
how often do they?
That's like my wildest dreams.
Yeah, and then you can say, I'm gonna move these ones later. How does that work? So it really allowed me to think on a structural level in a way that I had not done before, and I'm never going back.
Do you feel like that worked particularly well for We Were Liars, or do you feel like any of the other books you've written?
No, it would be. I think it would be. I would recommend it for anybody.
Just for anyone, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I have a question from Twitter.
Okay.
And it's something that I would actually like everyone to answer because I think it's quite an interesting question. It is Lady Julianne who's asking this.
Thank you, Lady Julianne.
If you had to write a book about one of the secondary characters in one of your novels, which character would you choose?
One of my novels.
What is your novel?
Yeah, how are we all going to answer that?
Well, so kind of
Or secondary characters
what secondary
generally.
character from your
Like,
book would we like to see another novel from?
Yeah, or other books. I feel like
Yeah,
we're just
wide-ranging-
talking about this.
You are?
So which
Oh,
one?
so we were talking about this before. I want to see a book that's from like the mum's perspective, either in Vivian in the Apocalypse, like I really like the mum character in that. I want to see her story, and also the mum in Eleanor and Park, Eleanor's mum. I want.
You're interested in the mums.
They're all so troubled, and I just want to get into their brain, and you only ever see them from their kid's perspective, and I want their perspective.
David Levithan has 2 books coming out that are both like that.
Ah.
Yes, he does. So I'm just gonna.
Plug it.
Yeah, why not? One is Rhiannon, which is the love interest character in Every Day, and it's the same exact time period, but from her perspective. And the other is the Tiny Cooper musical from Hold Me Closer, Tiny Dancer, right?
Yeah.
The Tiny Cooper musical, which is a character from Will Grayson. So he's like the master of that right now.
He's doing a lot of that. I know that Patrick Ness has a book coming out that's very much about
we're excited
the
for this one.
non-hero characters as well.
Oh, really?
Kind of
I
like
would love
living
to
in a
see that.
world like, you know, they're not Katniss, they're not Harry Potter. So I think that comes out next summer.
They're all together.
They're all
the
yeah.
sidekicks.
Yeah,
basically.
all the sidekicks.
Yeah,
Oh.
we were talking about the Hunger Games as well. Like, I just want to read a book about random person in District 7. Just
Yeah.
like,
What happened
what's
to
it
them
like for
before
them?
they died?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh. Do you have any particular character?
Well, from We Were Liars, I'd like to read more about Gat because I really liked him, and there's a lot of people who say they like didn't like him so much, and I did. I don't know if I'm the only one, but
No, I mean, well, people either love him or you know, I didn't want him to be like a love interest who was just totally idealized, you know. So he's compromised in that he has another girlfriend when he falls in love with Cadence, and he doesn't break up with that girlfriend, and so he's in a moral compromise there that he feels really guilty about, but he doesn't handle it well because he's 15 years old and it's hard to handle yourself. You know, so I wanted him to be realistic and not be just demonized for that, but just understandably messed up. Yeah. And also so maybe that's why they don't like him, or they don't like him because he, you know, he's like this very on fire intellectual boy, and he's got, you know, he's reading all the books and he wants to tell everybody everything, and he's politically opinionated. He doesn't always shut up when he should shut up, and I love that about him. But I also know that it irritates people because it irritates them when I do it. So you know, but I wanted him to be that kind of, you know, like a person, not just like this like boyfriend, you know, sparkly boyfriend.
I would love to have a story about Tipper, the grandmother. Because
the early days of Tipper.
Yeah, because you get the impression that her life was quite controlled from quite early on, and she
has the MRS degree.
Yeah,
you know.
she marries in, and then she, you know, she's kind of put on show, presented, but at the same time she's got to like oversee this future Sinclair empire as well. I don't know. I'm always interested in the women though. You're interested in the mums, and I'm just any woman.
Grandmoms.
Yeah. The grandmoms. Okay. Yeah.
Hey, well, it's now time for another round of. I'm looking at you because the ball's right there. Bookish, would you rather?
Okay, good.
I quite like this game.
This is fun.
That's quite fun. Okay, do you want to be the first one? I'll hold the ball for you.
yeah.
It is like the read thing. It's really weird.
Okay. Would you rather have a first edition of your favorite book or a book gift voucher of equal monetary value?
Well, how much is that?
Depends
I
on
don't
the book.
know.
How old your favorite
What
book
would the
is
book
and
be?
how
What's your favorite
rare.
book?
Well, my favorite book I always say is Noughts and Crosses by Mallory Blackman.
Mm.
So I don't know. I don't know how much a first edition of that would be worth.
Well, it'd be worth at least another hardcover,
That's true.
right?
Yeah, I'd probably get a first edition of that book. Yeah.
How about you?
Book voucher.
Book voucher.
Yeah, me too.
That seems like a
I'm not
good
that
thing.
sentimental about.
I just
like,
give them
yeah.
away.
Yeah.
I do. I just feel like my books want to go find other readers. So
That's a good thing to do. Again, we were large as well. I found the giving away bits of it was very, because we're moving, I'm giving away like, I don't know, a tenth of my books, and I have
Can I still go through some of them?
Yeah, of course. And it's one of the things, the first thing you do is really hard to do, and then you keep
I
getting
love
rid of
giving
them,
away
and you
books.
keep giving them to people, and like it becomes this sort of experience where you're like, this is really freeing, this is great.
Although I think I'd probably go for the first edition because my favourite books are, you know, Harry Potter, Philosopher's Stone, like The Bell Jar, The Virgin Suicides, and having a first edition of those books, I think I would get quite sentimental about.
Would you put it in like an airtight box?
No, no, but I think it.
would you read it? Would you read that
Yeah,
copy?
no, definitely I would read it, but I like to have first editions. They're not like the goal of anything, but if someone would give me an offer of it, yeah, I'd probably take it. Unless like my overdraft was in the same state, in which case I might have to take it.
I'm gonna give one too so I can grab one from it. Would you rather live in one of your favorite fictional worlds or have an object from your favorite book to use in the real world? Now, I wrote this one down, so I already have my answer. And I want a time turner.
Yeah,
I feel like, having a time turner.
That is going to be so much trouble.
I know.
So much
But
bad
I
stuff
feel
is gonna
like if you
happen.
follow the rules and just stay within your own,
Well,
within
you
your own
have
life.
to because there's only a small amount of time in the hourglass. There's a limited time in the hourglass,
Yes.
so you can only go back a day.
So it's like I just want
Is
this
that the
to
most
be
She really
extra.
does not go into all of the. I mean, I feel like the time. We could have a whole book about the time.
Yeah.
turner, right?
Yeah.
That-
That's a character.
Please.
Yes.
If you're
Um,
watching this,
Yes. Yes. Ms. Rowling, will you please write a book?
Just
with
by the
time
time turner.
Yes. Oh.
Okay, yeah.
Would you rather be a librarian or a bookseller? I would rather be a librarian. Aside from the shushing part. I'm very bad at, I worked in retail for quite a number of years. I sold Birkenstocks shoes, and I worked at Harrods one summer, and I'm really bad at selling things to people. I stink at it. I think, no, I know you'd rather not. Like, I'm just like, and you don't have to, it's fine. I'm just gonna go over here in a corner. But a librarian, I feel like, is helping, it's just not pushing anything on anybody for any kind of gain. And then we could just chat about books and it would be friendly.
That'd be fine. Yeah. Okay.
Over here.
No, thanks. Primrose Everdeen. Would you rather listen to every book but not own a physical copy of any, or own all the physical copies you want but with really ugly covers? Well, because it says own all the physical copies I want, I think I would probably go with that, because the cover to me isn't as important.
You just hide them
But
away.
I do enjoy audiobooks.
No one can see them.
Buy a really pretty cover up that you can just put over them.
I really don't mind. Like, it could have, like, some of my favorite books have terrible covers, but like, once you're in it, you forget about the cover. Like, I don't know.
What about you?
Yeah, probably that. But then I would make sure no one sees them.
Would you be ashamed of your covers?
Yeah, I would.
You can always,
Just
put
Put
paper over
paper
them or
on
something.
them.
yeah, cover them
You
up.
can just have a,
Wrap them up. Did you ever do that
Wrap
in
them in
school where you
wrapping
had to,
paper.
like, when you could
Sticky
put
back
covers
plastic.
Yeah.
on your like workbooks?
You just design your own cover, just paint on it and everything. Yeah.
That'd be cool. Oh,
Final question from Paul.
Would you rather have every audiobook you listen to be sung out by your least favorite singer, or read out by a robot? Oh god. The robot, because at least it's then read and not sung. And who's my least favorite singer? I don't know. But
The robot you
the
can probably
robot.
get used to.
Yeah.
Like, as long as it's sort of like a.
But if it's a robot, you could program a robot's voice to do different voices for different characters.
That's true. The
That's
robots
true.
would get better and better and
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
And soon
The
it
singer would just
sound
be
like
equally
Stephen
hard no matter
This
what.
might be the future anyway.
Fry.
Cool. Thank you. The ball's going back
Okay.
on its seat. There you go. And then, Jenny, you also have a question.
Oh yes. I was wondering, what is your favorite book of yours that you've written?
Picking a favorite child.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite book is really Dramarama, which nobody has read in the UK.
I've read it.
You have?
Yeah.
And the reason that it's my favorite is certainly not that it's the most successful, because it really isn't, but it's autobiographical. And I went to 3 summers of summer drama camp, and with the jazz hands and the glitter and the musical theater and the, tap dancing and everything, and I loved it so much. And I was so bad at it. And I never got good parts. And there was humiliation, and also boys and kissing and tap dancing. And I mean, what could be better than a summer doing those things? And at one point we did a production, this is in the book, of Midsummer Night's Dream. And we spent most of our rehearsal time in the forest nearby, like flapping around and feeling the fairy vibe and being a fairy community of artists. And then we did Midsummer all in, so who was I? I was Peter Quince, who is the leader of the Rude Mechanicals, and is sort of dorky and trying to get everybody organized. So I had to be a man. And so I was a man. And the other major thing that I did was I had to be a tree. So I literally had to, we had spent all this time in the forest so that we could do good tree acting. And we had to stand there, like this, doing trees. And when you're a Rude Mechanical, you have a lot of tree time that you have to, because you're not on very often. And so I was a tree for huge sections of this. And then after all the humiliations of especially because when you're 16 years old and you're at summer drama camp and there's boys and everything and you're heterosexual and you just do not want to have to be a man all day. You want to be somebody cute. And so this was difficult for my vanity. And then I had to do it in a sparkly blue unitard. Everybody wore sparkly blue unitards, and then we only had one single item, like a crown or spectacles or something, to indicate what our character was. And then when we were the trees, we just were in the unitard, so you could tell that we were trees. And it was just so profoundly, and it was a moment in which I realized, first of all, that that I had found my people, and I was a loser among them, which was very painful and thrilling. But also that I was in a bad piece of theater, and to really have that moment when you're like, this is bad. This is going to be bad, and we have to do it. And we're going to have to go up in front of everybody in our unitards and be trees. And so Dramarama is very close to my heart because of that.
Well, I think we'll all be reading that now. Yeah. I'm just going to grab the winners. Right over here.
Winners of what? Who are the winners of what?
Lots of fun things.
Okay.
This chair scares me. Okay, here we go. Okay, so we have some Audible codes for the audiobook, We Were Liars.
Oh, awesome. I hear it's good. I haven't listened to it because I get really self-conscious and weirded out by my own audiobooks, but I've heard a lot of very good feedback about the actor.
If you listen to the preview, it cuts off at exactly the right moment, is all I can say. Okay, so the first person who's on the We Were Liars audiobook is Lady Julianne, who sent us a question.
Okay,
wonderful. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing all these right. The second one is Jade Deterville, I want to say. I bet if it's the person, they'll recognize their own username. The third one is Piand Books. And the fourth one is F_fascination.
Or what about Pi? Maybe Pi and Books.
Pi.
Pi.
Oh, Pi and
That's
Books.
insane.
P-I is my books. Yeah, and the fourth one was F_fascination. Those were the Audible codes. And then we have the grand prize, which I think was an iTunes code for How to Be Bad, and a signed copy of Frankie, and just lots of fun stuff. And that person is, can I get some? Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Soap Girl UK.
Fantastic.
Wonderful Twitter hashtag. Congratulations to everyone who has won. We've kind of come to the end of the live show, and I kind of want to thank everyone for being here and remind everyone that the Audible audiobook from We Were Liars is available. The books are available in physical and ebook, and How to Be Bad came out this week as an ebook, so that one is available
and
now.
it comes out in print in June.
Excellent.
Oh, can I just say about How to Be Bad?
Yes, of course.
I co-wrote it with Sarah Mlynowski and Lauren Myrickle, and they are incredibly funny women, and it was really fun to write. And it's a road trip novel in 3 voices. So Sarah wrote part, Lauren wrote part, I wrote a part, and then it's an adventure.
And is it known who's written which part? Do you know when you're reading the book?
I think it's pretty obvious, yes, actually. If you've read any of us before, yeah.
You can figure it out.
I wrote the one that sounds like me.
Thank you to everyone who has been watching. If you didn't catch the entire show, don't worry. It will be up on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/hotkey_books. You can watch the entire show again. We'll also be looking at the questions afterwards. If you've left anything in the comments, we will check that out later.
Yeah, I will answer if the things are hashtagged. I will go on the phone and answer the questions to the best of my ability in 140 characters. So thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah, so thank you to Hannah, Rosianna, Emily, and Megan for being here. And I hope you enjoyed the show.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.